Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, let us examine the other areas of sustainable happiness models and what are the factors associated with those things. So, intentional activity is also another area that also looked into while talking about the sustainable model of happiness. Actions or exercises that a person chooses to engage in, that will decide also, that will bring one's happiness. Say for examples like can be cognitive experience, for examples counting one's blessings. In fact, at the lighter side of it, and there is a joke in fact related to the one's blessings and what we otherwise called that falls in the non-blessing sides, what we call is sin, sin. So, there is a person who was suddenly taken away by Yamraj. Yamraj, the god who gives punishment of death, Then the person argued with Yamraj, why are you taking me? My life is even not half finished. Would I call it as a premature death? No. Then Yamraj said that your time was for 50 years, but looking at the sins you have committed in your life, your age has been reduced. So, if you compare your sinful activities and blissful activities, your sinful are more than your blissful. Then the person tried to argue with the Yamraj, sir, how do you know that my sinful activities are more than blissful activities? No, we document, we keep record of. There is another God who takes care of all these things. Then he gone to the person who keeps record of it. Then the register of these activities said, yes, this time you said that given a chance you will destroy these areas or you will kill this person, that person. Then the person started suddenly comparing, sir, then why you have not recorded when I felt many positive things? I thought of creating a temple in these areas. I thought of building a school in these areas. So, will not be counted as my contribution and blissful activities. Then suddenly they realized, and when they started counting all these blessings or blissful activities, then this person's blissful activities was more than compared to his sinful. Then his quantum of punishments were reduced and he was given few years more for his life. So, even it counts in terms of life and death. So, although it seems to be a joke, but there are scientific reasons behind it. People who contributes positively more towards their life, they feel satisfied, they feel happy, and that even studies have seen that positive contribution enhances longevity of human beings. So, that's in form of counting one's blessings, maybe in terms some random act of kindness. When you are showing an act of kindness behavior towards others, oh, this is a poor man, let us help him out. So, suppose you saw an accident, people are very badly injured, you thought to help out them and to send him to hospitals, etc., etc. So, this kind of behavior it alters one's perspective about oneself. So, you are showing a sense of highness about your behavior. So, that brings some sort of satisfaction in one's life and the world in general. So, therefore, intentional activity has a direct bearing on sustainable happiness. So, if you keep on counting all your positive contribution, maybe and that will create a best for your sustainable happiness. Then another factor is what we call the circumstances, factors constituting the background of one's life. If the person is living in a climate of distrust, mistrust, revengefulness, attack and terror, etc., etc., that is likely to affect more. But a person living in an environment or in a family or in organizations that is full of peace, tranquility, love, affections, etc., is likely to be more comfortable, more happy, more helpful, and would like to cherish the workplace for lifetime. So there are, and say for examples, a person living in a place where there is people are sensitive towards gender equity, gender sensitivity, ethnicity, there is no racial violence at all. So this kind of place are likely to affect, suppose like what is going on in United States after the elections, there is a huge fight going on between black and whites, blacks are being selectively targeted by whites. So there is a a huge outcry, rage is developing among the minds of people. So this kind of atmosphere is likely to impair human health and happiness. Then personal experiences, how traumatic experience you have in your life, that is also going to impact the sustainable happiness of one's. Say for example, traumas and triumphs, if you are elated with, you are triumph with your success stories, that will likely to enhance your sustainability. But if you are successively or continuously attacked by one after another traumatic events, say for example, in school days you were not loved by friends, after marriage you were not by family members or your children, then after entering into your job scenario, then you were not considered as a good employee of the organization. So this kind of repeated traumatic experience may suppress one's feeling of happiness, or then the person starts realizing, I am the most disgraceful person in this earth. So that is why personal experience sometimes labels one sustainable happiness. Then life status and variables, for examples, marital status, education level, health status, all are the determinants of one sustainable happiness moment. Yes, physical attractiveness, suppose that you look beautiful towards others and people appreciate you are looking very good, very graceful. So you feel a sense of satisfaction, inner satisfaction is there, and that enhances one's sustainability in terms of general living also. There are so the findings here supports that set point contributes 50%. At what level you fix your set point of happiness. Then intentional activity also contributes close to 40%, and in fact yes, circumstances also 10%. So this may vary from culture to culture depending upon. So does that mean that does happiness is equivalent to well-being? So let us see. Well-being is equivalent to the quality of life people experience in their lives. So some people also given as formula that happiness is the well-being is the combination of happiness plus meaning. So happy life and meaningful life, so both contributes towards one's well-being. So let us examine what is those areas are. So here there is different approaches to happiness, like achievement of life goals, how a person becomes happy. So these are some precursors of well-being, life goals. So if things are happening as per your plan of actions, then you are likely to lead a very balanced life. But if these goals are not achieved, often obstructed by hindrances or different factors, that is likely to affect your sense of satisfaction, happiness, etc. But when you look at the subjective perspectives on happiness, there are different forms of well-being. Subjective well-being considered by Diner. Diner talk about the hedonic, which is most a feeling component. Life satisfaction such as positive and negative affective, you can assess one's state of subjective well-being But if you look at the dynamic approach that given by Rife, this is often self realizations. I may not be having sophisticated facilities for my living, but still I can say that I am a better of persons than many others. So, that self realizations. So, that is why Rife says that happiness is not mere a feeling factor, it is a multi component perspective, right. So, this constitutes therefore, the whole mental health framework whole mental health framework is consists of three important domains: emotional, social and psychological. I was just quoting it in terms of social networking context: emotional, social and psychological. In addition to that, I used to add one more dimension to it, that is what we call the spiritual dimension. Why spiritual? Because it is necessity to reach at the transcendence level, what we call, although it is very very subjective in nature, but in Indian tradition people often talk about the concept of moksha, which is the highest level of well-being one can imagine, and that is not possible by adding a spiritual dimension of well-being. How you connect yourself with what we call the super self. So, this is what we call the highest self. So, emotional well-being is the presence of how much positive affectivity you are enjoying or satisfaction factors in compared to the absence of NA. But social well-being incorporating acceptance, how you are accepted in the society, among your friends groups, in your workplace, in your family, actualization, what is your contribution, what is the coherence and contribution towards others. So, this labels your social well-being, your social image, particularly your social image in the society, in the community, in the organizations. But when you look about the psychological well-being, it is not mere emotional well-being or social well-being, it is your self-acceptance. Do you really? It is a self-realization. Do you really accept yourself that you are a good person? You have a good self-image in the presence of others, you have been accepted by others. Your personal growth, how do you see, where do you see yourself in the strata of the society or in your organization where people place you. So, your personal growth, your purpose in life, have you realized the purpose of your life? Purpose in life, then environmental mastery, this is very important. The environment you are living in, is it conducive for your living? Are you enjoying the autonomy to express yourself, the positive relationship with others? So, these are important markers or indications of one's well-being. But look at these are certain factors, psychological well-being Rife talked about, proposed by Rife in 1989, 6 important component of psychological well-being. He talks about autonomy, environmental mastery, personal growth, positive relationship with others, purpose in life, self-acceptance. So, this slide shows that the core dimensions of psychological well-being and their theoretical foundation. This is one of the most comprehensive models, that there are many other with related to the 6 components of Rife models, like fully functional person. Roger says that psychological well-being can be considered as a fully functioning person. This is a question there in the quiz test yesterday I was looking into. So, who proposed the fully functioning model of human personalities? So, this is Carl Rogers who talks about the harmonious growth or harmonious functioning of one's functionality. What do you mean by fully functioning? When you talk about fully functioning, we refer to both social, spiritual, emotional and cognitive domain of one's functioning. Then Alport talks about that one's well-being is determined by his maturity. So, well-being is nothing but one's emotional maturity, psychological maturity, emotional or psychological maturity. So, what is this emotional or psychological maturity? So, it is expected that the person should function the way the society expects from him or her. So, like conforming to the rules and regulations, acting as per the expectations of the surroundings. So, there are many other areas like executive process of personality. Some people say, Newgarden talks about, then Buller talks about basic life tendencies. These are essential basic life tendencies that are essential for achieving one's well-being. Then personal, Erikson talks about Erikson's 8 stages of social development. It talks about one's personal development is an indication of one's well-being. So, then Frank also talk about will to meaning. So, Frankl, yes, Frankl talks about it is the will of a person to have meaning about life, how far you cherish meaning in your life, that is an indication of one's well-being. Then mental health by Jahoda, he talks about mental health is equivalent to one's well-being. Jung has a different view, he labels or equalizes well-being with the individuations, and Maslow talks about self-actualization is one's highest level of well-being. So, many people have many explanations, but however, the central theme of well-being remains about the 4 important domains: social, emotional, spiritual and psychological. Well, this diagram talks about the dynamic model of well-being. If you look about it, the well-being depends upon one's the functioning well and satisfaction of needs. One is the enabling factors or the condition, that is opportunity, obstacles, inequalities and social norms and culture. These are very important influential factors in the functioning of how a person will well functions. So, these obstacles also decides that whether they will disturb or restore one's peace and well-being. So, it goes on one's life experiences like happiness, satisfaction, interest, boredom and distress. If one's experience about life is dominated by boredom and distress, the well-being will go down. If it is more of happiness, satisfaction and interest and zeal, then it will enhance the well-being factors. Another important area is called psychological resourcefulness. How psychologically you are resourceful is also an indication of one's well-being. Say for examples like resilient, optimism, self-esteem. So, people those who experience a high level of well-being in their life are likely to be resilient, possess a high level of self-esteem, and they are likely to be optimistic in their life. And there is also some certain other characteristics that are also reflections of one's well-being, like to be autonomous, competent and connected to others. So, these are the scientific character of a person who likely to possess a high level of well-being, a person likely to be reasonable. So, these are the cognitive markers of one's well-being. That means his cognitive functioning is intact. Well, these are some of the definitions of the theory guided dimensions of well-being. Say for examples like we talked about self-acceptance, how self-acceptance is described in the context of well-being, like it is a process, a positive attitude towards the self. It acknowledges and accepts multiple aspects of self, including good and bad qualities, it feel positive about the past. So a person who scores high on these sides is likely to possess better well-being than scoring low on these sides on self-acceptance, like feels dissatisfied with self, disappointed, feeling disgusting, troublesome life, wishes to be different than what we see in others. So this kind of features I often observe in people, those who are disinterested in the class. Why some people do not come to the class? This is one of the important reason. And the second thing is that positive relationship with others. This is also another. I used to relate all these characteristics with the people who are irregular in the class. High score. High score means has a very warmth personality, satisfying, trusting relationship with others, is concerned about welfare of others, capable of strong empathy, affection, intimacy, understands, give and take up human relations. These people are also very sincere in class, and they used to do proxy for their other absentees in classes. So I often used to tell them, okay, another thing is the personal growth, and it is also seen that those who are low scorer in the class, their personal growth also in general is very low. They think that if they concentrate on other activities, there will be overall growth of their personality. No, not exactly that. You need to have a all-round development of your personality. So people scoring high on personal growth has a high indication of well-being, like has a feeling of continued development, sees self as growing and expanding. They can realize that they are very open to experience, has a sense of realizing his or her potential, sees improvement in life. But on the other side, people those who are low on their personal growth, they are likely to have low level of high level of personal stagnation, lack of sense of improvement, then expansion of overtime, feels bored and uninterested with life, feels unable to develop new attitude and behavior. So this is one of the expansion of time. I have seen a group of students, whenever I give any assignments, surprising they will have, sir, I failed the deadline, can I submit it by evening? The moment I say, yeah, you can, then say, sir, I think in the evening I have a lab, so can I come tomorrow? So they just ask for demanding more and more times, expanding their times, and they never get the deadline. Purpose in life is very important. If you are so focused about the achievement of the goals, life goals, you are likely to maintain a very healthy well-being. Has a goal in life and a sense of directedness, you are focused, feels there is meaning, a meaning to the present and past, then holds belief that life purpose has aims and objective in living. So this keeps them going. So that is very important in one's restoring one's well-being in life. Yes, environmental mastery is very important, because a person who score high on it is a sign of his sense of mastery and competencies in managing the environment, controls complex array of external activities, makes effective use of surrounding and opportunities, and able to choose or create context suitable to personal needs and values. So this is exactly where people display a very harmonious functioning of their personalities. So one can create a simple simple exercise. If as a teacher, if you want to measure somebody's well-being, just make a small exercise, like erase each dimensions from say for example self-acceptance. Ask them to rate from 1 to 10. Very nature of it to not at all. Then similarly you can see, then the next one is what we call positive relationship with others. positive relations with others, again very well to not at all. So, ask the person, please place yourself where do you stand on the 10-point scale, what is the level of your relationship with others. So, maybe that will give an indication where exactly the person stands. So, then you can also put the another like on the personal growth dimension, where do you place yourself from 1 to 10. So, even this small exercise can be conducted in school or classroom situations. You ask the students to realize, place them where do they exactly fit into. It may not give them the exact status of their well-being, but probably that will be giving an indications. Say for example, purpose in their life. And environmental mastery. So, this is what we call an objective assessment. Can the same be also rate each item, rate each dimension on a 10-point scale. This the same thing can be also measured by storytelling. Just we discuss, even by story writing also, writing a paragraph. You just ask them, write one paragraph, maybe in 10 lines, 5 to 10 lines on each dimensions, like first one is called self acceptance. Just describe the meaning of each dimensions, ask them, then ask them to write a paragraph on positive relation. Do you really enjoy positive relationship with others? Write to one paragraph, or say for in 50 words or 25 words, something like that. Then the next one is personal growth. How do you realize that you are experiencing your personal growth? Please reflect them, like 10 lines. Similarly, purpose in life. Do you have a purpose in your life? What is there? Where it is? How do you realize it? Please explain and reflect on your thoughts. Then next is environmental mastery. Do you think that everything works at your wish? So, the things are moving on your wish, that means you things are under your control. Is the environment responding as per your goals and targets? If not, then that means you are disturbed. So, if yes, that things are happening. So, these are small exercise, but powerful technique for evaluation of one's well-being. But however, see, this depends upon the mastery of the person on the concept. So, otherwise it will not give a clear picture or understanding of one's well-being. So, moving forward, there are also people say that 5 ways to restore one's well-being or develop one's well-being. This is also a framework, what we call well-being can be achieved by good functioning, like very simple form of achieving one's satisfaction and happiness in life, like yes. So, what is this well-being? Be active, be connected, and give feedback, take notice, and keep learning. We will discuss details how these 5 dimensions that talks about the good functioning of well-being. We will come back after a short break.